as a young adult, it's very normal for all of us to try to find ourselves, like know who we are, what do we like, what are our values, and those are super important things to nail down. Life. So this class was really important because it highlighted something that we don't often hear in today's world. We are created by God, and God knows us so well because He created us. Where better to find our identity than in the one who created us? Go to God with, like, what I learned is to go to God with my questions about what am I supposed to do career-wise? What is the next step? Where do I go to college? And things like that. And bringing those to God have helped me build a more solid identity that is in Him and cannot be shaken by the world. Is on the subject of identity crisis. We had I think it was a 4-week series on this, and it was so good. I really liked it. It met me where I'm at. Hi, my name is Rebecca. I will be going to the University of Cincinnati.
Hi everyone, I'm excited to introduce to you my next guest who is a good friend of mine. He just has such a passion to help people, and he's a chaplain and an excellent speaker, and he has such an inspiring story. You know how far he started and the struggles that he went through. In fact, he has served in the U.S. military, and today he's involved in ministry. And most of what I like about him is just the passion he has to help people heal from emotional wounds and things that they might be dealing with in their lives. And one of the things I'm happy about too, that he's not only coming on board for this conference, but he will be part of our faculty in teaching classes, and also he will be a chaplain available to talk to people if you might be having issues and you need somebody to talk to. This is the right person to talk to. So I'm looking forward to hear the word that he has for us as he speaks on the subject of identity and also other related subjects. So let's welcome Tony Harris. Thank you and God bless.
Greetings. My name is Tony Harris. I'm a chaplain with the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, and I bring you greetings to those who are attending this Youth Empowerment Conference. I bring you greetings from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I serve as a chaplain at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. And we are so grateful to be with you. I want to say thank you to Pastor Boniface and to his lovely wife Dorcas for this blessed privilege to be able to come with you and to share with you in this conference, and from the school of New Vision School of Leadership, and just to be able to participate in this program means so much. I wish I could be there with you there in Kenya. We had planned on coming there. I already had my ticket and had everything lined up before this COVID interrupted everything. But if the Lord is willing, I plan to be with you there in the future. I've had the opportunity to visit in Kenya in 2014, and boy, did I enjoy myself. I came there with a friend of mine who also serves as a chaplain, as some of you may know. His name is Timothy Kakunju, and we had a great time. While I was there, I was able to visit in Thika, went to the Thika Mall, and we went shopping, and we just traveled all around in the area of Thika. We went to Riru Town, and as well as we stopped off into Nairok, and we had a great time there, just seeing the life of those who are out there in the bush, as some would say. And the Maasai, we danced with the Maasai. We had a great time in visiting with them and learned so much about Kenyan culture. And we also took safari, which is a great honor and a great privilege, I understand. And so loved Kenya. I remember getting off of the airplane, and as soon as I got off the airplane, I was so overwhelmed because that was my first trip to Africa in 2014, and I was so overwhelmed and so overjoyed. I remember the emotions that just overwhelmed me, and I began to get weak in the knees, and I just fell down to my knees just to be there, to be there amongst the land which my people were born, the land in which so many of us who are in America connect with. And I hope that you cherish the land as much as we who are not able to be there do in heart. So it's a beautiful place. Love Kenya. And I often joke and tell my buddies, I said, man, I'm looking to retire. When I retire, I'm going to come to Kenya. So I'm trying to learn some Swahili so that I could, because I don't know, I know there's several different tribes there, but if I can learn some Swahili, I might get by in Kenya. So I'm working on that even as I speak now. But I won't embarrass myself here. But I want to share with you today some things that have been on my heart to share with you, because many of you are going through, as college students and as teens, are going through some very difficult times, and especially in our country today and in the world. America, we are going through some very difficult times, some difficult days, and many people are trying to find themselves, trying to find meaning in life. And I want to talk to you, and I want to empower you. I want to encourage you as you are plotting out the journey for your life. I want to encourage you through sharing a little bit of my life and what are the possibilities. And then I want to give you some tips and some goals and some ways that you can apply some of the things that I want to talk to you about today. Today I want to share with you. I want to give you 3 segments. The first segment I'm going to talk about purpose, but I'm linking purpose with identity. You got to know who you are, and as someone said, whose you are. And so a lot of people today are struggling to find out who they are. We think we know who we are on a surface level, but there's so much more to us than what we think. So I want to talk to you about purpose. Secondly, I want to talk to you about passion. When I talk about passion, I'm talking about that which moves you, that which could be your specific calling in life. What are you here on earth to do? And so when I talk about purpose, I'm talking about being. And when I talk about passion, I'm talking about doing. And there's a difference between the two. There's a difference between being and doing. And then the third subject I want to talk to you about is people. How you can take your purpose and your passion and link that to people so that you might have an impact where you are, that you might be able to bloom where you're planted and wherever God takes you in this life. So I want to just kind of set the stage here a little bit. But before we talk about purpose, I want to talk to you a little bit about myself and my background. And as we answer the question, who are we? First of all, my name is Tony Harris, and I was born here in the United States in Cincinnati, Ohio. My mother had me at a young age. She was, I believe, just 18 years of age. And my dad also, at that time, was just 18 years of age. My mother suffered from mental illness. She has what they call paranoid schizophrenia. She's what they call paranoid schizophrenic, which is a mental illness here in the United States where people sometimes they lose focus on what is real. A lot of times they think that people are trying to hurt them or attack them, and they may sometimes be violent. And there are other times when they lose reality as to who they are, and they may even lose reality as to who you are. And then there were times when my mother, I remember as a little boy, didn't even recognize who I was. So at an early age, at the age of 5, there were 4 of us that were born to her. All 4 of us were placed in an orphanage. My father understood that at that time he was not around, and then they come to find out he was actually on drugs and alcohol all the days of his life. He actually recently passed away, and I was able to go there to his funeral, but he was not a part of my life. And so I went to an orphanage, and I was in an orphanage for several years. They separated my brothers and sisters from me, so I was not able to see two of them for a long time, and one of them was adopted in a total in another state, in a totally different state. So we didn't see her until she was well into her 30s, and she lived for 10 years, and then she died. So I recently buried my sister as well. And I have a brother who also suffered from some form of mental illness, and he is currently in prison. And he will be in prison for a long time for some of the things that he has done to put himself into that position. I won't get into the details of that, but he did some very bad things, and he is currently in prison right now. And then I have another young sister. Well, she's not young, and she's in her 40s, and she's doing pretty well, but she suffered some tragic loss in her life as well, and trying to cope with the life that was given to her. Each one of us took different routes. And so I just wanted to share you a little bit about that. And so eventually I got an uncle who took guardianship of me until I was able to go into the military. And at the age of 18, I was able to graduate from high school. I attended a school, it was called Cincinnati Academy of Physical Education. And so it was a school that was said to be for athletically gifted students. And so not everybody was that athletic. Myself, I say that I was. I played football. I played basketball. I ran track and was really did very well in track. And also outside of school, I boxed, and I trained for the 92 Olympics. And in 88, I went into the Navy, actually, to box for the Navy, and got into the medical field. And then I met my wife, who was also in the Navy. I got into the medical field, and she worked and lived on a ship. And so in 1991, I married my wife, Samantha Harris, and we have been married now for over 30 years by the grace of God. I have 3 children. I have a daughter who's 20, and she attends the University of Cincinnati. And I have a son who just graduated from college to be a teacher. And so he just got his first job as a teacher a week after he graduated. So we're really proud about that and really glad about that. Hallelujah. He can go ahead and get on out the house because he's eating up everything. But then I have an older son who is also in the Navy, and he is also in the medical field. He teaches medicine to the new Navy, what they call corpsmen or medics that are coming into that training, that area of learning. He teaches them. And so they're doing very well, but it was a long journey to becoming the person that I am today, because there was a lot that was missing that should have been in place, but because it was not, I needed help. And so I want to share with you a little bit how I was able to get a little help to overcome a lot of obstacles. The obstacle of one at an early age being orphaned. I remember at the age of 17, I was so distressed and I felt so useless and rejected. I felt so lonely and isolated. I felt like nobody wanted me, nobody cared about me, nor cared for me. And at 17, I remember wanting to end my life, and I never forget it. I stood up in a chair, and I tried to put a rope around my neck, and I felt like there was no hope for living. But I had a sister who was in the other room. They actually, when my uncle got me, he kept us together, and the only reason I didn't, I said to myself, who is going to take care of my sister? Who is going to take care of her? And I remember falling down on my knees and just crying and crying. And the reason was I was missing the other siblings that I had. I didn't know where they were. I felt abandoned by my own father. I felt abandoned by my mother. I didn't understand everything that had taken place early on, but I felt like totally rejected, and there was no purpose for me to live on this earth, and I didn't see any purpose to life other than just getting up, going to school, coming home, doing my homework, get up, go to school, come back home, do my homework, and play sports and go outside and play. And so, but where would my life go? What is the purpose to my life? What value do I offer? Did I have to offer to this world? And I didn't see it at the time. And so, make a long story short, at an early age, at the age of 20, 21, I gave my life to God, and I think things got better, a whole lot better, when I did that. And I understand that some of you may be believers in God, some of you may not have faith in God, but I just tell you that was a huge help for me, to help me find my identity. And that's why I said I'm linking identity to purpose, because you must know that you are on this earth for a purpose, and the purpose is greater than yourself. That you are not an accident. I know they teach in schools today the theory of evolution, and that we are byproducts of evolving from single cell amoebas and flagellas and what they call a primordial soup, where it's just there was a bunch of water, and all of a sudden something in the water became a blob, and the blob grew legs, and the legs walked up and grew a tail and walked up on land, became a fish, and then walked up on land. The fish walked up on land and climbed up a tree, became a monkey. The monkey then turned and became an ape, and we are those that come from monkeys and apes. And I beg to differ, because I believe that there is a creator who created us in his image. Whether you believe that or not, I just want to say that you must connect to something, a purpose greater than yourself, so that your identity is not found in what other people say about you, but in the creator, the one who formed you in his image, who gave you an identity that is greater than even that of your parents. And so we talk about identity. Where do people find their identity from? Many people find their identity in their family. There is family identity. There is identity in groups. Young people today, when they don't seem to fit in, they sometimes find gangs, find groups, or someone that they could affiliate with that gives them meaning and give them value, and then they find their identity in that particular group. And then there are others who may find identity in sports. And I remember being in school that sports was huge for me, because I didn't know who I was, and so sports became a way of helping me to connect to a brand or an identity. I am a part of this team. I am a part of that team. I am a football player, track star. I'm a basketball player. I'm a boxer. And so a lot of people find their identity and their value in sports today, especially today. You hear kids today, what do you want to do with your life? And they find their identity in being like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, if you like basketball, or Pele if you like soccer, or someone like that. And then there are others who they find identity in, if you're in Kenya, I understand that there are 42 or maybe 43 tribes in Kenya. And so many people identify themselves with their tribe, or with a nationality, African American. And even in being African American, we still find our identity, even not being born in Africa, we still find a portion of our identity in saying that, African yet American. And then, so there's the tribal identity. But does that really sum up who you are as a person? So you have to answer the question, who am I? Your purpose is linked in understanding who you are and whose you are. Who do I belong to? And who am I in the sense of my being? When you know who you are, not so much what you do, but when you know who you are, it settles and gives you resolve that when the world changes and you receive all this peer pressure from without and you find yourself struggling from within, finding and understanding who you are, first of all, that you have value, that you have meaning in life, that you have purpose for being here. You must come to a conclusion that you are that you are somebody, that you have a sense of somebodyness. But you're not somebody just because of who you are. You're somebody because somebody values who you are. And I believe that purpose, that identity is connected with the creator of life, the sustainer of life. So, identity. Where do you find your identity? Do you find it in your tribe? Do you find your identity in being a student? Do you find your identity in being male or female? Those are just segments along a long line of things that make up what you do, but who you are is the essence of who you are. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about mind, body, soul, your ability to reason and think, your ability to understand and to feel, to have a conscience and a conviction that comes out of your invisible person. The person that is talking to you through this video is simply using this body to speak to you. And so what you're seeing is you're seeing my being speaking to you and connecting to you, and I am using my body to do something, to inspire, to encourage, to empower, to think and to reason and to give hope and clarity and vision to your being. So we connect and we found value in one another. Whenever you travel, you must have some ID with you, some identification. I remember when I came to Kenya in 2014, I needed to have a passport. That passport allowed me to enter into the country. And so I want you today to have a passport to fulfillment in your life, a passport to purpose. You need that wherever you go. In knowing who you are, it validates. So when people try to squeeze you into a mold and make you be something that you are not, in essence, created to be, you can stand firm and understand that you are who you are. You be who you be. And that being is designed to demonstrate a value system, a holistic approach to life that is connected with the supernatural in order to do natural things. We're supernatural people in a natural environment. Therefore, we do out of who we are. Our being leads us to doing. There is the golden rule when we talk about value. The golden rule is what? To love God and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And it's interesting how that rule is given from a biblical standpoint to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. But here's the key. You already love yourself. There's already a sense of esteem. Some people today, they have low self-esteem. Low self-esteem can lead to pride. And pride, in the end result, leads to a disrespect to the rest of humanity, where pride then says, my tribe is better than your tribe. Therefore, my being is better than your being. You can't do what I can do because I am better than you. I have certain privileges that you can't have because I am better. But we in our humanity should look to say that every person has value. And every person should be esteemed. Not in the sense of in a prideful way, but in humility. We humble ourselves, serving the Creator and serving one another. And when we value one another, and that's what's wrong with this world today, is that many people do not value one another the way that we should. Therefore, we have the problems that we have. Racism, sexism, all kinds of isms and schisms. But the golden rule is to show that I have value and that the rest of humanity has value. And if we learn to love the essence of who we are, out of loving someone greater than ourselves, then we can love someone else with the love that we love ourselves with. Let me put it this way. How can you love someone when you don't love yourself? When I was 17, the only reason that I did not take my life is because I love my sister more than I love myself. But there was some love within myself to give, even when I thought that there was nothing there. So it says, love others as you love yourself. And so we must move from being selfish, because the issue is, in the end of the day, what I felt was nobody was able to love me with the love that I love myself. Sometimes we can love ourselves too much. And nobody can ever measure up to how much you love yourselves. So therein lies what I was saying about being humble. When you are humble, you realize that there is more in life to value and you live a balanced life. But we don't like people who are prideful. Let's be truthful about it. People who are arrogant and prideful, they think they're better than you are. We have names for them. We have places that they can go. We don't want to be around those type of individuals. And there are days that we find ourselves being the individual that we don't like, being arrogant and prideful and lacking humility. You can still demonstrate your capacity to be somebody and still be humble too. Those who are humble are raised up, but those who are prideful are brought low. We live in a country here in the United States that many people are upset with the leadership in our government, because we feel that the leadership in our government is too prideful, and the world is watching. There is a biblical scripture that says that pride, pride goes before a fall. And so, in understanding that everyone has importance and everyone has value, and when you value yourself, you're able to value other people. And understanding that you are special, you are somebody, you have value, no matter what society says about you, no matter how people treat you. Knowing who you are can give you strength for the journey and can help you connect to your purpose and identity. So there is that golden rule to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But you must understand that you already love yourself enough that you need to share some of that love, and therein gives you even greater value when you share who you are with someone else. That's important. We'll talk more about that. Some people find their value in family. If I found my value in my family alone, when my family fails me, then I lose my value. When my family, if I had my value in my mother and my father alone, when my father and my mother gave me up for adoption and put me in an orphanage, did I lose my identity when they were no longer taking care of me, when I was no longer a part of their family? So who you are, your value, your identity must supersede your tribe. It must supersede your family. It must be greater than your community, and it should be greater than anything that you ever do, because your purpose is connected to your being. And out of your being, you do. Out of who you are. I don't know, for those of you who may not be Bible scholars, that there was a conversation between Moses and God at the burning bush. And God was telling Moses to go down to Pharaoh in Egypt and to tell Pharaoh to let his people go. And then Moses asked the question, who should I tell him that sent me? And then the voice spoke back out of the bush and said, tell him I am have sent you. I am. What was God saying to Moses? He was saying, I be who I be. Tell him I am, the great I am, is able to deliver them. Out of my being, I am able to do miracles to deliver Israel out of Egypt. Even God himself, when was asked who should he tell him, he spoke out of his identity. He knew who he was, therefore he knew what he could do. And when you know who you are, you know what you can do. So there's a self-inventory, a self-evaluation of who you are. And in this conference, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about who you are. And I want you to be able to answer these questions. This question: who am I? And I want you to take a sheet of paper. I want you to do this. I want you to write down 7 I am statements. I am this. I am that. I am. And out of those I am statements, I want you to evaluate. And here's the key. You can't use the statement to say what you're doing. For example, I am doing this. I am a football player. That's something that I do. So you can't do that. Let's see how hard that is. 7 I am statements describing who you are, but you cannot state in that statement something that you do. If you're able to do that, you will find out who you are in those statements. I'll see you next time. We'll continue this discussion into purpose, leading into our next subject, passion.